Look, if you just set a goal for yourself that you're very serious about, you got to remember that just being consistent isn't the only thing that matters. You hear coaches like me all the time say that you just have to be consistent. There's truth to that. But how you apply your consistency is what will make the difference between you achieving this goal or failing at it. I've been coaching athletes for over a decade now, and at a certain point, everyone becomes consistent. But even if you are consistent, that's not going to guarantee you results or even achieving the goal. This is why it's very important that you hear this first point, is that consistent mediocre effort will likely just have mediocre results. But if you're consistently taking steps towards excellence, you're going to be a lot more likely to have excellent results. See, the first thing that we have to do when we're checking our consistency is analyze. You have to analyze your performance after you implement anything that you do. Not overanalyze, but analyze just enough. Like, here's a story that I had. When I first launched the current business that I have right now, we were just doing fitness boot camps at the park one time a week. And after we finished, all of us who were involved and helped make the thing happen, we would huddle together afterwards. And I would ask these two questions. The first question I would ask, what went well? If everything goes perfectly, I can't just assume that it's all going to come together perfectly again. If I don't know why things went well, I don't know what things I have to replicate to build off for the next time. We need to analyze what went well, figure out those specific things so we can build and create systems around those things for the next time. Remember this. If things went well, it's dangerous to not know why. The second question that I would ask was, what can we do better next time? This is important because when you ask this question, you need to know that the purpose is not to beat yourself up. The purpose of asking this question is to help build yourself up and build towards that vision that you have. If you're already hard on yourself like me, I know that you're already constantly thinking how you need to do better. How did I mess up? How is it my fault? Why can't I get this right? Now, I need you to listen carefully. It's very important that you don't look at this from a lens of emotion. You need to look at it from a lens of strategy. I know when things don't go well, it sucks and we feel like failures, but when you feel like a failure, you need to remember this, that failure is not an identity. Failure is just a result of what happened. Once you know this, now you can start looking at this with strategy on things that you can work on and improve. Once we know all this, we can go on to the second action step, which is identify and improve the single thing that will yield the greatest quality increase. You're probably going to find multiple things that you can improve on, but we don't have to do all of that at once. You only need to pick one. Pick one that will have an exponential impact on what you're trying to get better at. The greatest quality increase doesn't necessarily have to be what's shiny and trendy. Those things might not even help much. Sometimes the greatest quality increase is going to come from something that's boring, but it works. Here's an example. When someone is trying to lose weight, obviously we're going to work on nutrition, but what's marketed in the fitness industry and what sells isn't always the thing that works the best. Companies push for stuff like fat burning supplements, and coaches like me talk about things like intermittent fasting and meal timings and all the specific foods to eat. And it's good info, but most people don't even have the basics down right now. Like drinking enough water, eating enough protein, or actually just going to the gym. Those shiny and marketable things have the least amount of impact compared to just getting good sleep, drinking water, getting the foundation, the basics down. And maybe on the goal that you are working on, you still need to get your foundations and basics down before you can look at what's cool and shiny. And now the third action that really helps solidify and tie all these things together is that you teach someone what you have learned. And now look, you don't need to be perfect to teach something. Nobody is perfect. However, there are people who are now just beginning, and you now have experience that's valuable to them. When you start to teach others and you do so humbly, it actually helps you a lot as well. It helps reinforce all these things that you're teaching back into what you're doing for yourself. You start to see from a different lens, and you hold yourself to a higher standard when you start doing this. Like, here's an example. Like, if I'm coaching somebody and I'm telling them to do Bulgarian split squats, and I want them to get the full range of motion, get that knee down to the floor, when I'm working out and I'm doing Bulgarians on my own, I'm actually just picturing myself in the corner telling myself the same thing. And it sucks, but I end up doing it anyway. If we're humble, what we correct in others, we will start to correct in ourselves. because we realize we also might have the same tendencies. Now, when it comes to consistency and we start putting all these things back together, we have to remember that we have to analyze after implementing something. We don't want to put in mediocre consistency. We want to put in excellent consistency. So we're going to ask ourselves, what areas went well so we can build off of that? And what things can we improve on so we can start practicing consistency with excellence? And when we start implementing that excellence, let's start to see how we can teach that and share that with others. So it can not just help them, but it also reinforces that in ourselves. So when you're wanting to be consistent, strive towards excellence.